Hello and good afternoon.
Hello, I'm looking for Arrow.
That's me.
Cool, I'm Chris.
Hey, Chris. Man, I'll tell you what, we got to talk about this music because, I mean, you are exploring things that so many others won't even go toward because I love it. You are really into building a song.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Man, I mean, it's a bit, but how does it come to you? Is it sitting right there in the studio and we're going to do this one track at a time?
Sometimes. Then there's the holy mackerel. I have an idea. I have to get the whole thing down now before it escapes me.
Right.
You know? I mean, it's like, hurry. To the point like singing into the phone, you know, and just la-la-lying it or clanky on the guitar, because you're not plugged in. But then there's other ones where like, okay, like you said, let's build this. This has to do a certain thing. So let's be careful with the stucco here and the fresco here and the paneling here and and you make sure it's all right.
Now, I know that you guys came together because you brought all of your inspirations. Part of that inspiration, did it include the group? Yes, because it's so progressive. I listen to the vocals, I listen to the bass, every single instrument that's in there is there for a reason.
Oh yeah. I mean, no pun intended, yes and no. Growing up, you certainly couldn't get away from them, right?
Yeah.
They were everywhere. And Chris Squire was just such a good bass player, and Steve Howe played these guitar parts that I still don't know how to play. But yeah, and talking about constructing something, Lordy Begordy, they're certainly in there. And I think vocally maybe they probably show up, because I like harmonies.
Yeah.
On their, I want to say their first album, they did a Beatles cover. So, they like harmonies too. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one.
I'm glad that you brought up the harmonies because I remember being in the studio and my engineer was so against that. And I was so disappointed. I kept going, well, this is my song. No, you've relinquished control to me. And so do you ever go through that kind of a method?
No, since I'm producing it, no, luckily.
Yeah.
But I think some of the other producers I did work with, if they were skeptical, I'd say, we got to try it. What's the worst that happens? It sounds great and you get credit for it, or it stinks and I get, the blame. So it's, we can't lose here because I got to be careful because I'll just keep throwing harmonies on.
Yeah.
Just like, this were to work and I can do kind of a counterpoint thing here, and then it's just slow down. Don't corsage it to death here. Just get in, get out.
Well, speaking of those harmonies, those twin guitars, oh my God.
Thank you. Yeah, those are. You don't really hear them a lot these days. You hear like Avenged Sevenfold does them, and some of the other metal bands, but that kind of sing-songy almost essential to the hook of the song guitars. People don't really do them. I mean, Judas Priest is still out there and doing stuff, but I was listening to Def Leppard's High and Dry a couple of months ago for the first time in forever and realized that how much of it like a Junior Thin Lizzy record that is. Mm-hmm. The guitars are so essential, how they interweave their melodies in and out of the vocal melodies. And I just always love those. And they're just so distinctive when they hit you. You can't miss it.
Yeah, I mean, it always gives me, even when I listen to Hotel California from the Eagles, to this day, when I hear those twin guitars, it still gets inside my soul.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And to watch them play it live, and they just kill it every time, and just kind of go, man, because that took writing. That took rehearsal and execution, but the feel of it, like I said, just grabs you every time since 1976 or whatever it is.
I love the fact that you are using all the musical instruments in the way that music was meant for, because we live in this electronic age where everybody is going into some electronic drums, or they're going into some sort of DJ beats and things, but you guys are keeping it very, very real.
Yeah, I think part of that would be that's how we grew up.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys in a room hashing something out. And playing a lot of live gigs. And like when I was in Saigon Kick and we would do our records, those are entire takes we kept. Like Jason, Phil, and I all playing at the same time.
Wow.
From the beginning to the end, and rarely more than 3 takes. There's only 2 songs. One was Space Oddity of all things, which we had played for half a year on tour, and it took us 11 takes to get it right. No one could figure that one out. And then so painfully off of Devil in the Details, which took about 13 and 14 because I broke my hand at dinner, but it was the last song that we were going to record, and I had written it. So I'm like, okay, I got everyone drunk, and then we just hammered our way literally through it. And there's those are the only two that took more than 1 or 2 takes ever.
That's so funny that you say that, because when I get with book authors, I ask one of the main questions is I go, where was your wine glass moment in the story? Because when you have a little bit of alcohol, I swear you take chances.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, there's studies to back it up. But it's that walking over the bridge. It's not jumping in.
Yeah.
It's so many times. Hemingway had a thing about write drunk, edit sober. And if you know anything about him,
I get that.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Creating the band, it reminds me of an episode with Gordon Ramsay, because Gordon Ramsay was all about what inspires you. Now make it your own.
Yep. And I think in this case, since it was an assignment I gave myself.
Yeah.
To, if I was going to write an entire record for Thin Lizzy in modern times, and just say, here guys, go, all for you, so you have to sit there and think, all right, what's inspiring me here? Well, I want to be in the band, so how do I create that and be faithful to it, but not look like it's just I'm copying riffs. I go, oh my god, he just stole that from song X, Y, or Z, or off the 3rd, 4th record, whatever it is. So the whole idea was, okay, I want to be good because I'm in a place in my career where I think people expect that. But there's also, you want to be faithful and honor those, because you're standing on the shoulders of giants. So you better do a good job. Yeah. And that was a big part of the inspiration, both for everybody involved. They just wanted to do really well.
Yeah. The video for Take It All, the way that you open it up with the sky in full motion, you get that little bit of peace, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, we're going to war.
Mayhem.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd like to, and Phil Verone did that, and he did things for me. He's like, where he always puts little like Easter eggs in. He said, did you catch this? Did you catch that? Mm-hmm. And when the band begins right after the first set of riffs, you see the guy slam his visor down in time. Bang! And it's like, yeah, I caught that. And then at the very end, when the gong hits, the soldier's sword comes down and hits the other guy's shield right in time too. So.
Well, it fits so much into what's going on in the world today. I mean, the media can try to keep war out of our picture, but my God, it seems like everybody's at each other's throats right now. And I mean, you even say we are bred to fight.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's like it or not, man is territorial. And, and that's just it's the way it's always been. I remember my kids, when they're little, saying, well, Dad, why did wars start? I was like, well, a lot of times it's because somebody wants somebody else's stuff, and they're just going to go get it. And that's what happens. And, I want your stuff. Or it's there, I don't like what you did. There's that. Yeah. And then there's a lot of times your God is the wrong one.
Yeah.
So those are three strong reasons people go every time. But yeah, like you said, kind of specifically, we'd also done for the Ukraine-Russia situation, we shall call it. We did a cover of Gary Moore's "Out in the Fields" as well. Ooh. Yeah, that's on the Bandcamp site too. So, and then we donate all. We don't donate anything. It's a free download, but it also you can choose which charity you'd like to contribute to in a link, which would be, let's say you're into how to save pets, right? Because these people run, they're trying to get out of the house and live, or maybe it's a clothing shelter, or maybe it's a medicine transport, or whatever. You're giving a bunch of charities to contribute to, so you get to choose it.
My neighbor Joe is over in Ukraine in the way that he's over there as a journalist, and the reason why he's there and has been there since the COVID lockdown was because he's documenting the music of Ukraine, and it's just amazing the stories that he comes up with and the videos that he sends my way. They're still playing music. The war is going on, but the music hasn't stopped, dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at if you go back to World War II, I wasn't there obviously, but how much music got everybody through it. Yeah. I mean, it was as important as the movies. But the thing I think with music is you can broadcast it over the air somehow. It's tougher to do that. It's easier now with phones and stuff, but it's music is always a lot more portable, to kind of maintain and keep peace with your emotions.
Would you say that we're currently living in the greatest music exploration times?
Yeah, because nobody knows where it's going.
Yep.
We are all out in the middle of the ocean just circling and hitting, some are running aground, and some are getting caught in a storm, and some are having smooth sailing. But yeah, I think to your point earlier about the technology, some of that is opening things up so wide, and it's awesome. And the ability to, let's say, contribute to a song with someone who lives in, I don't know, Blackpool, England, is unbelievably cool. However, I think what has changed is typically in music, there's certain styles due to certain regions, like the British invasion was just, it seemed to hit the Americans out of nowhere. Or like Southern rock was different than, let's say in the 70s and 80s. Southern rock was different than New York punk, which was different from LA punk, which was different from, Texas rock, which was, different from the city bands like Aerosmith. And that's just America. And I think there seems to be a bit of homogeny going on now, to my ears, where it's kind of like, if it gets a little more almost like protective and regional, it might be a little more distinctive.
Yeah, because I'm starting to notice that even California rock is really picking back up again. Sunset is really, got those bands again, and that seems to be what radio is missing. Is that give me some of that great rock? I need to have some right now.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I sat down and was listening to Van Halen with my daughter, who's 26, and she picked up on the vibe of it right away. Just that whatever that was that I heard, when I was 15 or 16, we're just like, what's being transferred here, that's been captured. And yeah, I mean, a kid's going to be a kid every time. They're always going to do the same thing. That's why the bands like all the punk bands and Slayer and Metallica, they always seem to hit a certain age group, no matter what.
And it's appearing on Spotify and on iHeartRadio and things like that on their phones, on their playlists, and it just blows me away that you could be a high school student and you're listening to the same stuff I paid 99 cents for on a 45.
Yeah, that's what's great. My kids were watching Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and as the songs were coming up on the soundtrack, I was singing them from the other room. And they're like, "How do you know this?" Like, are you kidding? Like, every one. It's like, these are huge songs, and then of course they go out and get them. So they're listening to Billie Eilish and Redbone. It makes sense to them. Whereas when I was a kid, it was definitely more. I think you're more of a category guy. You're like into the soft pop, like like the pop, like what's a good example? Like Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and that sort of. Then there was kind of what is now called yacht rock. There was that. Yeah. Then there was rock, and then there was the burgeonings of heavy metal, and you kind of stayed within your own yard. You didn't really venture out too much, but the smart ones did.
I'll never forget the very first time that my mother was singing one of my favorite songs, "Ain't That a Shame" from Cheap Trick, and I go, "How do you know this song?" and then that's where I got my Fats Domino lecture.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I've said that to my kids and my nieces and nephews, like, and my neighbors. Go back and that's a cover. Go back and what? Yeah, go back and listen to the original. And I'm always a fan of going back and finding out where the inspiration came from in your favorite artists. Like, go to Judas Priest again for a second. They picked the weirdest covers. I mean, Joan Baez, really, guys? I would have loved to have been in that band meeting. When, let's say, Glenn Tipton brought in Diamonds and Rust by Joan Baez to Judas Priest and said, "Hey, I got an idea for a cover." Who? Joan Baez. You're out of your mind. No, wait a second. Just hold on. Watch. It sounds kind of cool. All right, but then you go find the Joan Baez stuff and just kind of dig through there. And then of course my aunt said, "Oh, Joan Baez is this and this and that." Okay, cool. Opened up some more ears.
I've been with Judas Priest so many times, and I always have to bring up the question, why are you still doing your thing? And they go, because we're kids, and we will never stop loving what we're doing. And it just I just want to hear them say that every single time.
Yeah, and it's true, man. I mean, it's, Picasso lived to, what age? And he was, sprightly and weird and, quirky all the way to the end, just because I think if you're expressing your true self, it's easier to keep that youthfulness. I think Young was a big fan of playing and remembering who that inner child is. Yeah. And it's a difference between being childish and childlike. Yeah. So you want to be childlike. Although I am a musician, so I certainly know more of the former. But it's you have to maintain that wonder and excitement and exploratory stuff every time you do something creative.
Yeah, because people ask me after 44 years, why am I still in radio? And I said, because I don't want to face that 14-year-old kid who had a dream. I'm not going to tell him that it's over.
Right. Totally agree.
So now, Three Dog Night was best known for 3 vocalists. You've got so many drummers on this. Who do you take out on the road?
Yeah, no kidding, huh? It's like the reverse of Spinal Tap. They all live. But by the way, Three Dog Night, another band that just, talk about taking a song that someone wrote and making it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. Like Mama Told Me to Come. I mean, that between their version, which is, I don't know who arranged their stuff, but it's unbelievable. But how they got that from that Randy Newman song, which when you hear him do it, it sounds like Randy Newman. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt. But yeah, they were the masters at it. But back to your question, it started because Mark Danzeisen we wrote kind of I wrote the first couple tunes and just threw them at Mark because Mark understands that style. Like it's got to be kind of rock but jazzy R&B and whatever, and that was what might have been. And I said, I want the middle of this to sound kind of like Bad Reputation, but just do what you do. That's all. Just go. So Mark was first, and then I think Barry was next. Barry Kirch from Shinedown. He did Take It All, and he did What Might Have Been, and he did Kingpin. And he's done some on the Kinell follow-ups we got coming here. And then Rick and Eric were thrown in there as well. So just everyone kind of volunteered for the song they wanted to play.
Wow.
But I knew Barry would kill What Have I Done, because it's 6/8, and he's just great in 6. He just is. And he's got a jazz background. He's like, please let me play that one. I'm like, go knock yourself out, dude. I'm not going to stop you. All 755 of it or whatever. Go.
I love what you guys are doing with the band because it seems like that we're in this age of music where everybody is getting along, and it's not record company against record company. Bands are creating together. There's unity.
Yes. I think part of that was, believe it or not, COVID.
Yeah.
Because you had a lot of collaborations that you normally would not get through things like Zoom.
Yeah.
And acapella and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's something in the air too, because my son's in a band and they tour. And I mean, he decided to pick up the drums 3 years ago. He's 22, and all of a sudden they're out touring. I'm like, okay, I don't know where you got that. And you had to be a drummer, huh?
Yeah, right.
So, but their community is exactly what you're talking about. They all collaborate. They stay at each other's houses. They organize the gigs together. They kind of travel together. It's really very, very like ethically collaborative, and it's cool to watch because it's very natural. And but I think it's spilling over into other things too.
Does he ever open up and because so many times musicians when they're out there on the road, especially in the beginning days, you got to make that choice at midnight. Do we hit a Taco Bell or a convenience store?
Right, yeah. They seem to favor Waffle House.
Oh my God! Of course.
Yeah, really brave. But he had his run-in with Shoney's on one of their runs, and I said, yeah, you want to do that again, will you? I said, look, worst comes to worst, just get some beef jerky and Diet Pepsi. You'll be fine.
That's right. So where can people go to find out more about the band, the new music, and there's got to be a tour somewhere along this line?
Well, I'd say, if I can get my drummers all in one place.
Yeah, that's right.
The Kinell at Bandcamp, just go to Bandcamp and type in Kinell. That's the best right now because it's literally direct to you. We have actual hard copies of the CD if you want one of those. And I mean, I post stuff on my Facebook and all that sort of stuff, but there's no like what do they call it? Like a general store where you go to the Kinell.com website or whatever just yet, because I'm more interested in I want the music out there now, as opposed to the other accoutrements that come with it. Yeah. And as for touring, it's an idea of fun to do, but like Barry and Rick, Rick is Barry's drum tech, so the Shinedown's home now, but they're out in July and then they're home again, and they're out with Papa Roach in the fall. So I doubt I'll get either of them to pick up a pair of sticks for me until the end of the year, but that's okay. And you never know. Rickard, who played the drums on Say Goodbye, he's a local guy. He knows how to play all that stuff. He knows the drummers. He helped record a lot of it. So he'd probably be choice number one to do live gigs. But that's just a matter of the matter of doing it. But the other question is, for me, do I play guitar or do I play bass? Because I did both on the record.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and Colin's like, dude, you got to play guitar. I mean, you got to do these solos with me. I'm just going, okay, but who's going to play bass the way I want to hear it? Because that style is very specific. It's not rock, but it is rock, and it's almost like you're singing. In some cases, like certainly with Line that he did this, it felt like beat poetry over like an R&B bass line. Like he grabbed the guy from the OJs and then had him read beat poetry, and it's this amazing rhythmic fit. So if that's not right, and the bass player plays it too straight, it's going to then take that bed that the guitar harmonies sit on and kind of tweak it. And so I don't know. We're gonna have to try it like with just the three of us. And okay, I'm gonna try one, two, three, four songs on bass, and then I'm gonna try 1, 2, 3, 4 same songs on guitar, and you guys tell me what we got.
See, it goes all the way back to that thing. It is the greatest time for music exploration because you guys are trying to figure out the answer, and that to me is the journey.
Yeah, and what's cool about it too is we can take my either my guitar line or my bass line, pump it through the PA, and I'm playing along. And we just kind of go, okay, well, which sounds better? And you couldn't do that, ages ago. Also, the whole way this was recorded, like I would gather up a take, send it to Barry, Rick, or Mark. Eric is Ricketts in town, so I'd send it to them and just say, do what you want, and send it back. And if I need some, I'll just say, can you change this or add this, and go from there. And the old days, you had to go to you still, what I guess is your Dave Grohl. You have to go to the studio. Yep. You have to hope you get the same sounds. Hope the humidity in the air is the same, so you get the same sounds. Whereas now it's, you can get it perfect and you don't have any degrading due to the tape, or there's a lot of stuff with the tape in that era that's kind of romanticized.
Yeah.
But without the ability to do this stuff in the modern age, like just what I call the cut and paste method, I don't know how we would have gotten this done. Because I'm trying to cut and paste. There'll be things like, Barry sent one over and he's like, oh man, can you add this? Because I wanted to play it, but I didn't, but I wanted it to go double or whatever. Sure. So I just, kind of moved it around to his liking. He's like, cool, done. The old days, you try to do that with tape. Yeah, good luck.
God, to be a fly on the wall in your studio, I just can't imagine you with that computer screen in front of you and you're building that song. Because, your imagination, it's not here on this planet. It's long, long away.
Oh, yeah. It's always trying to tune into that universal radio.
Yeah.
Hope you get the right channel. And there's guys, that I've certainly played with and been around. It's like, okay, why are you on that channel? Because that seems to be a lot purer signal than the one I'm getting. And I'm jealous. Can you at least hint where you are? But like you said, once you hit into it and once it clicks, you just make sure you have the volume up because you're going to want to pay attention.
Yep. Dude, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Glad to. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh man, brilliant answers, dude. Because I want to share the story of music. I don't want to just sit here and just go blah 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 blah. But when you share the story, you've now given the listeners the inside sleeve of an album.
Yeah, man. And when I used to listen to interviews, that's what I listened for. And like, what insight can I get here? And it's kind of a analytic kid in that sense, but I would just study that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, okay, why did you do this and why did you do that? Or why not even, same. And then the cool thing about this career is you get to meet those guys and gals later and ask them if you didn't get it then.
Yeah.
You kind of go through this, okay, I got to play like I wasn't a fan and we're just friends and we're peers. And then, hey man, I got to ask you something, and I've gotten that too. I've had people come up to me and we're hanging out all day and there's some like at NAMM or whatever. And then all of a sudden they throw me, dude, I got to ask you a question. Well, sure, what? I'm a huge fan. Used to go see you guys in Detroit all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going, holy crap, really? Because it's just fun when it turns around and it's so humbling.
Yeah.
And but it just reminds me of the same thing I did. And thankfully for me, everyone I did that to, okay, man, remember the first record? That type of stuff. They were always so gracious and always cool. All of them, every single one. There was not one who was like, I don't know, dude, I was, stoned on my mind, I don't care. I got to go. I got to get to the thing with the guy, and I'll see you. Nope, nobody ever did that.
Yeah, I think I've only had one bump up with somebody, and it was Randy West, and it was because I asked him a question about a guitar riff, and he goes, what song were you listening to? And I thought, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? But wow. He wasn't in the mood he wanted everything to be my interpretation, not his story, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Oh, I totally get that, too. Absolutely get that. And because I would ask fans that, they say, hey, what's this song about? And I'd say, well, what was it sound like to you? Like when Phil was doing the video for Take It All, I'm thinking just, like you said, kind of this Born Diggity, Bregden fight, I picture someone like Chris Jericho coming out in the wrestling, going, here I come, man, here I come. And I'm thinking, okay, that's kind of what I had for it. And then when Phil pushed, I said, think like medieval wars. Think like, down to its simplest, most honest, I guess, in a way, brutal expression and start there, which gets back to that point you asked me about, which is I want your stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 80% Irish, no, 88% Irish, and so the Irish are just invaded over and over and over. As Phil Lynott points out in Emerald and other songs, and I think that's part of your bloodline, and I was like, you know what, just go with that. And he just knocked it out of the park.
Wow. Dude, you have yourself a brilliant day today, okay? Thank you once again for the storytelling.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You bet.
It's almost done, but
Thanks, dude.